Bible he came to save mankind?
Well, Paul said there's neither Jew nor Gentile, man nor woman.
There's neither what?
Jew nor Gentile, man nor
It
woman.
was actually the Jew nor Greek, so you got to go back and read it again. So that represents mankind.
Of course.
How? How so?
Well, because it says there's no difference between the two.
But what was the Greek he was talking about? Who were they?
Greek.
Who were they? I'm
The people that were speaking Greek.
Speaking Greek.
Yeah.
They were speaking Greek. Did you know there were Jews that spoke Greek? Okay, so those Jews that...
other people that spoke Greek.
Of course, but there were Jews that were speaking Greek, and what were they being called? Hellenes. They were being called Hellenes.
But what did Jesus speak?
He spoke Hebrew.
He spoke Aramaic.
You're not even letting me finish my point.
He spoke Aramaic.
I'm trying to get... No, he didn't speak Aramaic.
Yes,
Aramaic was the old administrative language of the Babylonian, right? Understand, Babylonian and the Persian Empire.
No,
yeah?
Jesus spoke Aramaic.
Now you're going to tell me no. You want me to get it in the Bible?
John 19:19.
Let's read it, man. Man's telling me no. Like you know better. Okay.
John 19 and 19, it says, and Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, and in Greek, and in Latin.
Why was it written in Aramaic?
Well, because that's a local language. It's vernacular.
What was the local language?
Aramaic.
Aramaic. So why wasn't it written in Aramaic?
Let me ask you this.
Hey, search the word
If
Hebrew.
the local language wasn't Latin, or it wasn't Greek, why was it written in Latin?
So what was Latin at the time?
It was the language of the empire.
It was the language of the empire. What was the language of the empire before that?
What do you mean?
But you know so
Of
much.
what empire?
Before Latin, what was the empire before the Latin? Before the Roman
There's
Empire.
loads of empires.
Egyptian, there was one main one. The
Babylonian.
Egyptians were being ruled, but Cleopatra was
Greek, whatever.
She was a Ptolemy.
The Greek.
Yeah.
Greek was you know what the lingua franca? You know what a lingua franca is?
Yeah.
You know what it is? What's a lingua franca?
It's a common language.
It's a what?
Common language.
Okay, so English is like the lingua franca of the world, yeah? So in Ghana, they learn English. When they go home, what do they speak?
Whatever they speak in Ghana, I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know what
They speak their native language, but they learn English as what? As a lingua franca. Yeah? It was the same thing with the Hebrews. The Hebrews, they spoke Hebrew. And hear me out. Hebrew was the language of the people, right? But they were surrounded by different empires. So at one time, like I'm trying to explain to you, Aramaic was the lingua franca of the Babylonian and the Persian Empire. So Aramaic, yes, Aramaic, because the Babylonians, they came up after the Assyrians. So they didn't change the lingua franca. They kept Aramaic as the lingua franca, and then so did the Persians. Do you understand that? Listen, just listen.
Let me say this. There's still people that live in the area.
Yes, I know, but
that speak Aramaic.
You gotta listen to what I'm trying to show you, right?
Alright.
A lingua franca isn't learned by all people. A lingua franca is mainly learned by merchants, people that have to do business outside. The common people in any area didn't specifically learn that language.
What language?
Yeah, just like English. Oh man, you're not listening. The Jews, their language that they spoke as common people, everyday people, was Hebrew. The higher ups, they learned. How do I know that? Because it's in the scripture. Go on, read it, man. Okay, we're gonna read it, man.
Who's gonna let you know?
This is Philippians chapter 3 and verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day of a stock of Israel, of a tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews.
A Hebrew of the Hebrews.
Yeah, but that don't mean they speak Hebrew.
What language do they speak then?
Well, in certain areas they speak Aramaic.
What certain areas are you talking about?
There's certain areas where they speak Aramaic today.
I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about back there.
I got another one.
Well, why would they?
Acts 21.
Where does it say that?
No, hold on. Let the scripture speak, man.
And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs.
This is why he said he was a Hebrew of the Hebrews.
The hand unto the people.
What people was he beckoning to in
I'm
this
not saying he
scripture?
wasn't beckoning to the
Listen.
Hebrew.
Okay, so he was
I'm not
beckoning
saying
to the
they're not
Jews.
Hebrew. I'm saying what they
I know.
speak.
Listen. Read.
And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue.
Read that again, because maybe my man don't. Maybe my man ain't on
Where
it.
is that?
And when
Read it again.
Acts 21 and 40 is okay. Okay. It says, and when he had given him license, I'll read from 39. 29. But Paul said, I'm a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia.
And by the way, Paul knew Latin and he knew Greek and he knew Aramaic.
And he went
Paul read on
and
because he was a learned man. Just like today, you'll find most businessmen, high-level businessmen today, they learn French. Some of them are learning Chinese, but they speak their native tongue. Like I said, if you go to Ghana, the businessmen will learn English. The higher-ups learn English, but when they go home and they speak among their own people, right? They have their own languages.
But what you say is they speak in Hebrew, right? For formal things, for religious things.
No, they
speak
speak Hebrew for everyday things.
How do you know that?
Because
but what historians say, what historians say is they speak Aramaic.
Historians don't say that.
Who said, I'm a man with...
What does the scriptures say?
Who said...
The scripture says that he spoke Hebrew.
Does it read it again? Did they have Hebrew names?
I don't know.
Did they have Hebrew names?
Well, they might do. I have a Latin name. I have a Latin name. I don't speak Latin.
Go on.
I have a Latin name.
21 and 37. As Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? Art thou not that Egyptian which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers?
So Paul could speak Greek because he was a learned man. But what I'm trying to show you is there's no time recorded in history where all the Jews stopped speaking their native tongue. When did that happen?
I'm not saying they stopped being able to speak it. I'm saying in common
Why
parlance.
wouldn't they speak it as their common tongue?
They speak Aramaic.
No, they didn't.
What does the Bible say?
The Bible didn't say anything.
But Paul said, I'm a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city of Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. And when we had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue,
which is the language of the people, because they were Hebrews.
Well,
Can you tell me when? Since you know all this history, when did they stop speaking Hebrew as their common language?
When Jesus was born, he spoke Aramaic.
Why? Why was he speaking? Why did he not speak Hebrew?
Because everyone around him spoke Aramaic.
Why were all the Hebrews speaking Aramaic?
I don't know. Why do English people must speak German? They're German.
What?
English people are German. They come from Germany. Why did not speak German?
England's a concoction of many different people.
We're talking about Jews who are actually, they're Hebrews. They've always been Hebrews.
Anglo-Saxons come from Germany, right? Jews, they come from Norway.
Where did the Normans come from?
They come from France. And then before that, they come from Scandinavia.
No, they moved to England, right? And England already had an established language.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
No, English.
So there was no language before the Germans came here. There was no language here.
There was. It was called British, and it ain't nothing like English today.
Right, because English today is an amalgamation of different languages. We're talking about Hebrew, not English, and these were Jews living in the land of Israel. Do you understand this? They weren't not from anywhere else.
So why would they not speak Aramaic if the people there today speak Aramaic?
Because the people there today are not the real people.
But excuse me, there is a people living before Jewish.
Listen, man, forget you, man. I don't care. Yeah, the Amorites and the Mosai destroyed them. Go on.
I hear about our people.
We ain't talking about that. You gotta understand that. You gotta deal with what the scriptures say. They spoke Hebrew.
Right? You ain't showing me nowhere I said that they speak only Hebrew in common parlance.
Bro.
I know they speak Hebrew. I'm not stupid.
Bro, the common people spoke Hebrew, but they were Hebrews. There was no
they don't
time.
say that nowhere.
Bro, were they speaking Hebrew during the time of the Greeks? Or were they speaking Aramaic? Huh?
They speak Greek. Right, let me ask you this. What was the gospel written?
Greek. Because there were letters written to Israelites to speak Greek. Greek.
Of course.
So what?
So what's
They
your
were
point? They
written to
speak
Greek
different languages. I'm not saying they spoke Greek, I'm saying they spoke Aramaic.
You're not listening, bro. I'm trying to show you
But you
that
ain't
Aramaic, was not a language which was forced upon all of the Jews to learn and speak.
There's another one.
Yeah?
Why would it be? It's a common language.
It was not a common language that everyone spoke. It was a lingua franca.
What,
Do you
Aramaic?
understand that? Do you understand? It was an old lingua franca. After that, then it was the Greek.
But where'd you get that?
It's called history, my man.
Well, where'd you get that from the Bible? I don't understand where you get this from.
Bro, all the empires are recorded in the scriptures. Let's go to get the book of Maccabees. Listen, man, why don't you go suck a lemon, man? Oh, fuck me, man. Fuck off. See, the thing is, man, you just don't understand history, and that's your problem.
You mean I don't understand it?
Okay, what happened during the Hellenistic period with the Jews? Who went into exile during the Hellenistic period? Is that what happened?
And then it was in the temple.
See, you don't know. They didn't go into exile during the Hellenistic period. They were still in the land in Judea. Judea became a province under the Greeks. See, you don't know.
Under the Greeks?
Yes.
It was a province of the Roman Empire.
Oh my God.
Yes, it was.
Bro, that was after. The Romans came after the Greeks.
So the Greeks ruled Judea.
At one point they did.
When?
See, man, you don't know no history. Read the book of Maccabees. No, that's why he don't understand. He keeps talking about Aramaic. You don't know, man. That's it, man. You don't know. You don't know. You see, and this is the problem.
What do you say?
That's why these so-called scholars and experts can say anything, and these people will believe it. As the Bible tells you what, the simple believe in every word. There was no point where all the Hebrews just spoke Aramaic, and I can prove it too. Oh, someone get me the account with the when the Assyrians came to Jerusalem with was it Hezekiah? And then they were talking shit and they started speaking in the Jews' language.
Isaiah, maybe 19th chapter.
Get me that.
Somebody can search out.
See, what we're trying to get you to understand is that the average everyday Hebrew spoke Hebrew, right? Aramaic was like an administrative language. So if you was a merchant, right? It's like what English is today. If you was a merchant in the ancient world, let's say you was a Issachar, right? And your thing was you traveled from one place to another. There had to be a language that was set up, pretty much that you could go anywhere and do business. At first, that language was Aramaic. You could pretty much go anywhere and find someone that spoke Aramaic, just like English is today. That's why most English people don't learn other languages. Because you could go France, you could go China, you could go anywhere in the world, and most people, you'll find someone that speaks English. You understand what I'm saying? So what would happen is the higher ups and the learned peoples would learn that language. Just like today, people that go to like private schools all end up learning another language. It's a standard thing. The common people can barely speak their own language. Is it not the truth? It was the same thing with the Jews back then. At one point they were learning the Aramaic, and at one time they were also learning Greek because they were in the Greek world.
36.
Then at one point they were learning the Latin because it became the Latin world. But the average common day people, they didn't have time for all that. They were farming and doing what they had to do. They weren't learned. They spoke the language of their forefathers, man. You got that account?
36, bro?
You can start. I don't know how much context you want.
Just get straight to the point.
You really gonna have to go. Maybe start from the 10th verse.
He said, oh, they could speak Hebrew, but they spoke Aramaic. Why would Hebrews not speak their own language and speak Aramaic in a Roman world? That doesn't even make sense. He's a bonehead. He's a bonehead.
In this world today, and you get someone that comes from, say from Africa, man, the west coast of Africa, like, they have their language, they teach their children. And then they might know that, like Chinese are a good example. They learn their language first. They teach them Mandarin, Cantonese. They don't let them learn English. They're more on their own culture.
And then they learn the English because they know they might need it. But when they're at home, they don't know how and all that stuff.
But they look down on. I got a guy from work. He was saying basically like and the Polish they come over here, right? And they all learn English. But all the other Polish will say, "Are you teaching your children Polish at home?" And if they ain't, they'll be like.
But the point is, they're here.
They're here.
Where were the Jews? They were in their own land, among their own people. So why the hell would they be speaking Aramaic? Now, did they use the Aramaic script? Yes. They started adopting using the Aramaic script. That doesn't mean you were speaking Aramaic. That's two different things. The Aramaic script can be used to write Hebrew. Go on, read on.
Isaiah 60 and facts like
Like a lot of the manuscripts we have, they're written in the Assyrian script. But it's Hebrew.
Isaiah 36 and 10. And now I am come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it. The Lord said unto me, above, yeah. Start from about.
Water.
Or about verse 7.
Or am I really drinking water? Is this a parable? Hey, them fucked out ITR guys, man. Everything's a parable. You heard about it?
You really have to read from the top. You really have to read. It kind of starts about the 6th verse, but go from the top.
They say he fed them with the word. You guys are bugged out, man. Yeah, this ain't water right here. This is the word that I'm drinking.
Why do you say they followed us for the bread of
yeah.
See how quick you cut that?
I'll hold it for you.
That's a samurai move, man. He was
So dumb. They weren't following them for the word. They're following them for the bread of
Oh, this is so much out here. I'm gonna send you the video, man. I'm gonna send you the video, but hey,
See, you hear shit and your instinct like, see the spirit just kicks in. That's how you know the spirit's something.
yeah, that's why it's good to say the simple believeth every word, man. But you got guys on the comment board like, can't arc. I get it.
Same chapter.
Go on, let's read this.
Isaiah 36, from the top it says, now when it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the defense cities of Judah and took them.
Now that was the Assyrians, because before the Babylonian city-state. Yeah, if you want to deal with history, Babylon was a city-state in the region known as Chaldea. You had Babylon, you had Akkad, right? You had That's why the scriptures speak about of the Chaldeans. Was a city, because back then you had city-states that were basically ruled by a particular king. Within that city, that was the kingdom. And they were independent from everything else that was around them. Like another famous city-state would be Troy. Another famous city-state would be Tyre. Those were city-states. So in that region, you had multiple city-states. And what happened was, at one time, Akkad had rulership over all those city-states. That's known as the Akkadian Empire. When you go to the Babylonian Empire, that was the city-state known as Babylon getting control over that whole Chaldean region. And then from then, they branched out to the rest of the world, man. So you gotta get into that history, man. Now that guy, he wouldn't know nothing about that, man. But he just knows they spoke Aramaic, because the scholars said. First of all, a scholar is just someone that reads a lot. That don't mean that they got the truth. A lot of scholars regurgitate something they read in a book. That doesn't mean that it's the truth. Because you got people that got agendas that put lies in books. Anyway, go on.
And the king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem unto King Hezekiah with a great army, and he stood by the conduit of the...
If I believe, the word Aramaic and Syriac is interchangeable, right?
Yeah.
Aramaic
is the general Syrians.
Yeah. Which I think the Assyrians spoke the same language.
They might,
the Assyrians spoke the same language. Because these are the Assyrians.
They were the first five. Ashur, Aram, Faxad, Elam, and I forgot the other one. But the first five brothers.
I know the Assyrians, they spoke Aramaic too. They spoke the Syriac. Go on. Which is going to show you that. Read on.
And he stood by the conduit of the upper pool and the highway of the fuller's field. Then came forth unto him Eliakim, Hilkiah's son, which was over the house, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah and Asaph's son, the recorder.
Now these were all chief men in Israel. Like I said, in any society, you're going to have the common people, and then you're gonna have the noblemen. And noblemen are usually more learned. Just like if you go back into England back in the day, knights and men of esquires, they were learned men. They would have learned other languages. Now, if you went down to the street level, dudes are just run-of-the-mill English-speaking slanged out. And it's still like that to this very day. Go on, read on.
It says, then came forth unto Halalyam, verse 4, and Rabshakeh said unto them, say ye now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest? I say, sayest thou, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom dost thou trust, that thou rebellest against me?
Right, so they were talking madness. When you read the account, these ambassadors that were sent by the Assyrians, they were talking greasy. They were mad threats, right? Go on, read.
Because them Assyrians, they had taken over. They had already taken over. So this is what Sennacherib is what? The son of Sargon II. So his grandfather was taking over the world.
And they were hella proud. Go on.
Lo, thou trustest in a staff of this broken reed on Egypt, wherein if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. But if thou say unto me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah have taken away, and said to Judah and to Jerusalem, ye shall worship before this altar? Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on any part to set riders upon them. How then wilt thou turn away the faces of one captain, of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? And I have now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it. The Lord said unto me, go up against this land and destroy it. Then said Halalyam.
Which book are you in? Isaiah?
Yeah.
Okay. What verse you in?
36.
Verse what?
Right now, verse 10.
I know chapter, but okay, yeah, because it's coming up to the point. Go on. I'll just check it.
Verse 11.
That's what I said to you.
Yeah.
You really have to jump in there. You don't really know what's...
Yeah.
Then said Halalyam and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, unto thy servants in the Syrian language.
Right. Now, that shows you what? That shows you what? That these men were learned men. He's saying, look, man, don't talk to us in your language. Because we understand it. Why? Because they were learned men. They weren't just no farmers, man. Them dudes were learned men. They were officers, man. Read on.
Speak unto thy... Speak...
Got something you want to bring up? Okay, hold that. Keep reading that.
Speak unto thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and speak not to us in the Jews' language.
Speak not to us in the... What's the Jews' language? Aramaic? It was Aramaic that these Jews were speaking. So what I'm doing is showing you that the higher-ups could speak it. But why did they tell them, look, don't speak in the Jews' language, which is the Hebrew. Speak in the Aramaic. Read on.
Speak not to us in the Jews' language, in the ears of the people that are on the wall.
In the ears of the people that are on the wall. That was like just running everyday people that had, come to see what was going on. Because if they had spoken in the Syrian, the majority of them would have been like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But they came and specifically spoke in the Jews' language because they wanted all the people to hear, to put fear in their hearts, man. You understand? So what does that prove straight away? That there's a disconnect there. The common people didn't speak Aramaic. They spoke Hebrew. The higher-ups, the chieftains, could speak Aramaic. Go on, finish that.
It says, but Rabshakeh said, have my master sent me to thy masters and to thee to speak these words? Have he not sent me to the men that sit upon the wall, that they may eat their own dung and drink their own piss with you?
He was talking mad shit. He was talking mad shit. But the point is, that back then it's clear to see that the common people spoke the Jews' language, which is Hebrew, and then you had the higher up that spoke the Aramaic. Now when you go into the Babylonian captivity, the Babylonians didn't speak Aramaic. Right? They had their own language. You're about to bring that out, right? The Babylonians had their own language. But when you actually go into the history, when the Babylonians took down the Assyrians, when they took down the Assyrians, instead of establishing the Babylonian language as like the new lingua franca, they said, you know what? We're gonna keep Aramaic as the administrative language of the empire. We're gonna keep that. Right, and that's how Aramaic carried on. But as you can see, it wasn't the common language of the people. A lot of people could speak it, but it wasn't the common language of the Jews, man. Go and read that.
Since Daniel's 1 and 3, and the king spake unto Ashpenaz and the master of his eunuchs.
Spoke about the Syrian Empire, right?
Yeah.
Well, even when you find out with the Babylonian Empire, a lot of the kings were basically of the Assyrian line anyway.
Yeah.
That's how, when you get excerpts in the book of Esther, when you go into the Hebrew, they have Aramaic words, all right? So you see the translations that we Aramaic, and that backs up what you said about it, keeping the language. And it really, because of hierarchy, always was the same hierarchy through most of the Babylonian Empire, and they didn't sort to change it.
They didn't want to change it.
So that's why in the book of Esther, and that was when dealing with Xerxes, man. That shows you how deep the line is. They still had the remnant of the Aramaic.
Yeah, Aramaic it lasted a long time, lingering around. It lingered.
It's like become like a slang. You know how, English.
Because a lot of people spoke it. Well, after so many centuries of being used as a lingua franca, you end up with a lot of people that do speak it. But that doesn't mean that all the Jews spoke it, man. They still had their own language. Even the Babylonians had their own language. We don't read it.
But he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
The Chaldean region, right? Because they had their own tongue.
And they saw the higher ranking men. They said the king's seed, the princes with ability and knowledge. So that shows you those men that were teaching, they were going to basically have a bilingual, trilingual, give them a new skill set and a new language, were men that already had an ability to attain a certain level of wisdom. Backing up what the brother was saying about many people with the hierarchy of the society that know many different languages. Why? Because they got the money to do it. And they understand the curriculum they're under when they're born and brought into this world is basically like, look, you need to be able to make money. And this is how you're going to make money. Whereas when we go to school, we learn that basic, going back to the fucking Industrial Revolution, bullshit education. Right? No pictures, please. No pictures. Please. So basically, we learn that bullshit, like shit that they teach us, but they get taught how to be bilingual, trilingual. They learn about economics.
Back in the day, if you actually went to uni, you came out with about 8 languages.
Yeah.
Certain man like Albert Pike, you know about Albert Pike? I think they said he spoke like 11 languages or something like that, man.
That was the norm back in the day, man. A man of a scholar of wisdom would have known a couple. Hey, even King James, man. Going back to how a king was groomed, you had to learn some languages, man. Because guess what? You're gonna have to talk to other kingdoms. You're gonna need to align yourself with other kingdoms. You might not even want to align yourself, but you want to be up on whatever the fuck they're gonna do, man. But that's just normal.
When Solomon had all of them wives from all of them places, those were trade deals, right? So how are you gonna be able to make a transaction when you don't know what the people are talking about?
That's right.
But you can get a translator. But it's going to be better for you.
See, when we rule, everyone's going to be learning that Hebrew. Because the Hebrew is going to be the new lingua franca of the whole world.
If they decide they want to try to speak their language, and then say some sneaky shit.
Well, you know, we already in the spirit. we the code breakers. Hey, read that for me. Now, this is going into Nehemiah. And what I'm doing is I'm giving you, going through the history and showing you that we always had that language even up to the time of the Romans. He can't do that. He's got to have a scholar tell him. No, I'll read it in the scriptures and trace it for myself. I ain't gonna let no scholar come and tell me some madness. I'll go look it up. Go on, read on.
Alright, cool. There's a Nehemiah verse, chapter 13. Just to put it into perspective, there's one verse, 23. In those days also
Now, what time was the time of Nehemiah? You know, brother? You know what time Nehemiah was in? So you got to read them scriptures, man. You're supposed to be able to know, like okay, Isaiah, Jeremiah, that was around the Bible. They were prophesying against Babylon. That's what. Those are the things you got to learn. You read them scriptures and get that basic general knowledge, because this is it's our history. We got to know our own. You know what I'm saying? So that no one can't come tell us nothing. Nehemiah was during the time when we were being allowed to rebuild the temple by Cyrus. Well, Cyrus made the command, and then I believe it was Cyrus made the command to rebuild the temple, and then it was his son that had to happen on the one.
It was a decree of Cyrus.
It was a decree of Cyrus, but it didn't happen until.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Until after. They had to look it up in the records.
Yeah, they had to look it up in the records, and then
They had to Google it.
I think he went for a while.
Artaxerxes that did it. See, bro, is teaching me.
you had three waves of. Sorry, I thought you had 3 waves of Jake going forward back, isn't it? I think the first wave was under Cyrus, and then they stopped, and then they had to look in the records again.
So Nehemiah was during that Persian Empire. Yeah. Right. Nehemiah's during the Persian. So imagine you've had the Assyrian. We just read about during the time of the Assyrian Empire. Now we're skipping through the Babylon. Well, we read about the Babylonian Empire in Daniel's. Now we're going into the Persian Empire. And guess what you're gonna find out? They still spoke Hebrew. Go on, let's read it.
This is Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language.
They couldn't speak in the what?
In the Jews' language.
So that means the Jews still had a language. And they were banning these certain people out because their children didn't speak the Jews' language. Showing you how important our language was to us. So man had to ban them out. Go on, read on.
But according to the language of each people, and I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by YAHAWASHI, saying, ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves.
So that's the point in that. So even back then, we still had our language. That's why he was bunning out the ones that weren't teaching it to their children. And notice he doesn't even mention nothing about Aramaic there. He was talking about the language of Ammon and all kind of other nations. Now let's go into the time of Esther, which is also during the time of the Persian Empire. So get me Esther 8 and 9 and just read that verse. See, I asked him, well, when did they stop speaking the Hebrew? He didn't have no answer. Because the scholars didn't tell him that. They just told him, oh, they speak Aramaic, but he never thought to email the scholar and say, well, when did they stop speaking the Hebrew? Why would they not speak their mother tongue among their own people? That don't make no sense. That's like going to China, they don't speak Chinese amongst each other. It's dumb, it's stupid.
Esther 8 verse 9. Then were the king's scribes called at that time, in the 3rd month that is called Sivan, on the 3 and 20th, on the 3. It says, then were the king's scribes called at that time, in the 3rd month that is the month of Sivan, on the 3 and 20th day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language.
So the Jews had their own language. They had their own language, man.
What scripture was that, please?
Esther 8 and 9. So we understand that right into the Persian Empire, even when the Jews returned back to Jerusalem, they were still speaking Hebrew. And they were butting out people that were speaking other languages that didn't know the Hebrew. So what's that guy talking about? So when you go into the time of the Greeks, what language were they speaking? They were speaking Hebrew. Because the Greeks came directly after the Persians. Alexander the Greek took down the Persian Empire. What, so in the midst of all that, we just decided to stop speaking Hebrew and speak Aramaic? Come on, man. That's madness. All right, you got Maccabees? No, what I want is just get some of the background.
No pictures, please.
Just start from the top.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetin, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds.
And that was the beginning of the Greek rule. Right? And then that led into what? The Hellenistic era, where many people started what? Learning Greek. But who resisted it? The Jews. They resisted it. The ones in Judea. Now you had, which we're gonna read, you had Jews that didn't resist and became Hellenized. But then you had the Jews in Judea that did resist, beginning with the Maccabean rebellion. It was all about preserving our own culture, our own ways, which included our language, man. They fought for that. They fought to retain the language and the customs and the laws. So what the hell is that guy talking about? No, they fought to speak Aramaic? Is this guy crazy? What's the difference between Aramaic and Greek? Go on.
And made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Yeah, Alexander the Freak, man. He went on that Arsenal 49 and 0 run, man. You know, unbeaten season, man. But that was all prophecy.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Yeah, when you winning for so long, man, you start thinking you can never lose. You start getting proud.
And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries, and nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honourable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
And this is all recorded in the scriptures. So when you learn the Bible, you really got to learn history. Now you go to these people in the churches, they don't know no history, man. They have no concepts of history. All they got is rhetoric in their mind. Go on.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place.
Right, you had Ptolemy, Lacenaeus, Cassander, and Seleucus, right? That's the 4 generals, and they parted up the world among themselves.
You had usurper. You had a 5th one that usurped to make up somebody was asking me that this week. You have one that has usurped to that 4. He was one of them off, and he's online, wasn't it? Someone asked me
after or before?
After Alexander.
I know one of them got sparked out clean. I think it was when Cassander, he got swallowed up by Seleucus.
Right. Okay. It might be that. Well, I know there was like a 4th or 5th guy in there.
It could have been, you know these Edomites, man.
Yeah. No, I only said that because someone asked me that this week. I wanted to.
Alright, well, we can discuss that later.
The spirit came full circle. I wanted to ask, I might have given this information.
You're gonna ask me that off camera, brother. So there's 4 generals, man.
And his servants bear rule everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Yeah, because they were the devil. The so-called wine man is the seed of the wicked, man. They're the like, they bring wickedness to a new level, man. They're like the Michael Jordan of wickedness, man. They'll bring it to a whole new level.
And they came out of them a wicked root. Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, of Antiochus, the son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days, when they're out
Which these Greeks were really Edomites. They were Edomites that got control and rulership over the lands of Greece, beginning with Macedonia, because Haman was an Amalekite from Macedonia. And he was really, when you read the scriptures in the Apocrypha, he was really a double agent. Is that the right word? Nah, it's not a double agent. He was an, well, you could call him a double agent. He worked his way up in the Persian Empire, but he was really working for the king of Macedonia, because Macedonia and the Persians, they always had a relationship. If you read the history going into the Macedonia and them Persians, they always had that relationship, Amalek and them Persians. And it's funny, you got Amalek and them Persians going at it again.
Infiltrator was the one.
Yeah, he was an infiltrator, man. He was trying to basically undermine the Persian Empire to translate it to the Macedonians. But it weren't time yet. It weren't time. But eventually it did happen, because it was the will of the Lord.
In those days, went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we depart from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right, they wanted to basically amalgamate themselves with the Greeks to go along. Because the Israelites were always known as a troublesome people. Because we were very highly, like when we was in our right mind, we're highly independent, man. We don't want to be like nobody else. Rebellious. Well, Jacob rebellious. That's Jake. Jacob rebellious.
There was Julius Caesar. He said if he doesn't get the Jerusalem, some sort of peace with him, he was always going to be troublesome to him.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah.
So he went there and he came in and they said he was a slick speaking devil.
Yeah, Julius was a bad dude, man. He conquered Gaul, man. He was a bad dude. He was a general, man. That dude was slick. He divide and conquer. He was the master of that. Caesar. That's how he conquered Gaul. And they did the same things when they went over against the Native American Indians. Divide and conquer. Set one tribe up against them, make them fight each other, then come in and clean them all up. The British did that that goes all the way back to Julius Caesar. That's what Julius Caesar did in Gaul. Because there was no way, they didn't expect that guy to come back. Gaul had all kind of warrior tribes, but he went there and he would make one alliance with this tribe because he knew this tribe didn't like that tribe, and then set that tribe up, and when that tribe fight that tribe, after the war, he'll come in and fuck both of them. And that's how he conquered Gaul, and that catapulted him up in the popularities, and that's how he managed to come back and become Caesar. Because the people loved him. They love a good a soldier, a good gentleman. Rome was a military society, just like America.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
Right, go on.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
Right, so they totally forsook the ways of being a Hebrew, to the point where they stopped speaking Hebrew. And they were dealing with that Greek, but not Aramaic. They didn't stop speaking Hebrew and then start speaking Aramaic. They stopped speaking Hebrew and started speaking Greek. They became Hellenized. But not all of them, just a portion of them. Go on.
And forsook the Holy Covenant and joined themselves to the heathen.
They joined themselves to the heathen. Basically, they became Greeks in nature. even though they were really Jews, they were really Israelites, for all, you know, for the purposes, they basically became Greeks. They dressed like a Greek, spoke like a Greek, they believed in Greek philosophy. Alright? Oh, there ain't no pocket for search. Can you find me where they were running from Judas and they fled amongst the heathen for succor? Right. That's in the scriptures there, man. Go on. Just type in the word succor.
I was sold,
or however you pronounce it.
I was sold to do mischief.
Mischief is like the wickedness, the ways of the heathen. And that's why you had a staunch, you see, you gotta understand, man.
That's probably right.
Them Jews that were in Jerusalem during the time of the Lord were the direct descendants of the Jews that fought and died for the covenant. And they knew this history. So how do you think they felt about the Israelites that were speaking Greek, that sided with the heathen? How do you think they felt towards them guys? You don't understand. You have to understand, like, they were like, fuck them dudes. They knew the history. They were, as far as they were concerned, we stood firm. You guys ran off. And you sided with the heathen. Then you could start to understand the beef that had to have been happening when they found out that these guys were gonna get brought back into the fold. What? As far as they were concerned, them dudes were through. If the Lord gonna save anyone, it's gonna have to be us. But hey, the Lord is not a respecter of persons among anyone.
You know what? The second one I saw, I went past the first one. What religion is this?
We're the Israelites. We believe in the Bible. We're the children of Israel. You got this? Yeah, okay. No, that might not be the same one. We're Israelites, man, from all the different 12 tribes, man. Right? We're not Jewish, we're Israelites. No, this ain't the one. There's another one.
What do you follow?
The Bible.
The Bible.
I said the
New or the old?
There's only one Bible. Both.
Both.
It's all one.
Well, the New Testament is a bit different from the Old
No,
Testament.
it's not. It's not. There's no difference. It's the same laws, the same prophets.
I don't know, that's what I know.
I'm just telling you.
I'm Muslim, innit? Yeah, so
I assume that. But I'm just letting you know that it's all in agreement.
just curious, innit?
I understand. I'm not mad at you. I'm answering your question.
Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt. That he might
Okay,
have...
that's it on that. Did you get the one I wanted?
If you don't mind me asking you, Lord, were you not born into it?
But that wasn't the one. There's another one where it says that they fled amongst the heathen from Judas.
Okay, was you born
Because when you go into the history, Judas Maccabees basically got raised up and they basically fought against the Greeks and any of our people that joined themselves to the Greeks, and they were killing them. They were killing them. So then a lot of our people that were Hellenized, they fled up into the different regions surrounding Judea that was under Greek control.
Okay, were you born into this religion or you chose the religion?
Listen, we're not no religion. I already told you. We are the Israelites. It's a nationality. That's who we are.
So it's not religion?
No, but we have law, statutes, commandments. The Bible is our book. Right? Moses and them they were Israelites and they were given law, statutes,
So you believe in Moses, obviously?
Of course. We believe in the whole Bible. You got it?
That's it.
Where? Where? Yeah, that's what I want.
All right.
So give me the meat on that. Give me the meat on that. I didn't become an Israelite. I simply am. Yeah, what she said. Right. See, even the black woman said that. She said we got the most logic.
This is first Maccabees.
He's all gonna get mad now.
This is first Maccabees chapter 2 verse 40. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen.
And it weren't just the lives and the laws, part of the law is the language. They was fighting for their customs, they was fighting for their heritage. The Hebrew is part of who we are. It's our language, it's our communication.
They will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law.
The Assyrians, they were mighty men of Israel, man. Some real riders, man. And they weren't no gangsters either, man. They were real men. They weren't wild beasts. They stood for something, man. They had a standard. They stood for the righteousness, man. All right? And they'll run. If they was around here today, it's like you can teleport them Assyrians here today, they'll clean up your block, man. Some real riders, man.
Also, all they that fled from persecution joined themselves unto them and were a stay unto them.
Right, because we were being persecuted for keeping our customs, man, by the Greeks. Go on, read on.
So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath.
Right, so they were killing heathens that were in the land and wicked Israelites that were being Hellenized. Read on.
But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
The rest fled. Now, when it says they fled to the heathen for succor, that means they fled outside of Judea. Yo, I ain't got no internet on my phone. Hey, one of you brothers pull up. Who's got a big screen phone? You got one? Yo, pull up. I want you to pull up Asia Minor, because it should show you Judea and then the different places in Asia Minor. So that's why when you go into the time of the New Testament, you had these Gentiles or these Greeks that were receiving the gospel and being saved. And where were they from? They were from these different cities in the surrounding areas outside of Judea. They were really the descendants of these same Israelites that fled among them. Hey, and some of them went into slavery among them too. Because it tells you, hey, when Israel would lose in battles against the heathen, they would take Israelites and ship them off. That's what would happen after a battle. Women, children, they were sold. Survivors were sold as slaves. That's a common thing that would happen. You got that?
You said it should show Judea, right?
Yeah, it should show you the area. If you took Asia Minor, and then you see that Judea is like in the south of it. So see if you can get it on the so you brothers can see your benefit. And you people that's watching on YouTube, you're already on the internet, man. You're already on the internet. Pause the video, go check it out, man. You gotta learn and look things up, man. Sometimes you be showing them an article in a video, and the man's gonna message you for the link when all you gotta do is Google the title. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So now I've got to stop what I'm doing, go find the article and post it when you could have Googled it. Yeah, you gotta be a researcher, man. You got the Google, you know what I'm gonna do, you gotta use it. So when you go and you look up the churches that were in Asia Minor, they were all in the surrounding areas, because what did we just read? Go on, read it again. Read it again.
So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
So you had many of our people that fled. They fled from Judas Maccabees. They fled outside of Judea and fled among the heathen, and they were living among them peoples, man. And they were speaking Greek. So then after the courses of generations, they're just Greeks now. But guess what? They're the seed of Israel. So the Lord came to save that which was lost.
This is Maccabees chapter 1 verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus brought to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So will the heathen agree according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
So we were fighting against that, and we won. So we retained our culture all the way through the Greek Empire into the Roman Empire. So my question is, when did we stop speaking Hebrew? See, I asked him, when did that happen? When did we start speaking Aramaic? At that time, in Jerusalem, they were still speaking the Hebrew, man. Alright, they weren't speaking no Aramaic, man, among the people. Alright, they fought and died to speak Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I wanted to get Galatians, because that cretin mentioned Galatians. Galatians 3:28. So you gotta know this history, man. That's why when Paul was when Paul was dealing with these Gentiles, these Greeks, that's why the Pharisees and them were so enraged. They were like, look, these guys are heathens, man. But Paul was trying to let them know, no, they're Israelites, and salvation is for them as much as it is for you. This Lord is no respecter of persons. All have fallen short, man, anyway. But they thought they were the remnant that was going to be saved, because the scriptures speak about that remnant. They thought it was just them. They didn't know the remnant was going to be the elect from Israel that was scattered among all the nations, man.
Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek.
Right, why do you say there's neither Jew nor Greek? Because that was a big thing that they had to break down amongst the churches. Because they've grown up their whole lives with that separation. Now in YAHAWASHI, they had to basically embrace each other as brothers. Whereas for the longest while, they were strangers. And they hated each other. The Jews hated them. They were raised to hate them. They would read the accounts in the synagogues. Yeah, and then them guys there. And then now they gotta be with man like, yeah, Shalawam, you know. Man's all day with a Greek accent and all that. Hey, but that's why Paul had to address it in Galatia. You had Jews in Galatia, and then you had the Greeks in Galatia, which were both Israelites, and they were coming together in these churches. Paul had to address it because they had that schism.
There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female.
Yeah, because you would have had Israelites that were coming from a free point of view, a free status, and some from a bond status. Now, once you become a believer, you ain't see. If in life there's certain things you might feel you're better than somebody. So you might get a Jew that's a free man, and then he will look down on a Jew that was a slave. And so now, once you believe in YAHAWASHI, you gotta get rid of all that, man. You gotta deal with him as a brother. You can't. I'm still better than you though, because you can't be in that spirit. That's what Paul's trying to address, because all these things were happening. Right?
It says
now that don't mean there's not no order. Don't get that twisted, you know? That don't mean that there ain't order, but I'm talking about them schisms.
there is neither male nor female.
Male no, because you're gonna have men that believe and women that believe. But there's still an order. But they dealt with the women that believed like they were believers, sisters.
For you are all one in YAHAWASHI Mashiach.
You're all one in YAHAWASHI. Now you think he was talking about a heathen? No. Because YAHAWASHI came to make Israel one again. He didn't come to make the whole world one. He came to bring the tribes back together as one, pursuant to Ezekiel the 37th chapter, to fulfill prophecy. In fact, John 11, start from about 48. What you got, son?
This is Philippians chapter 3, verse 4. Though I might have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he hath, wherefore he must trust in the flesh, I am more. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for YAHAWASHI.
Give me John 11, start from around 48, let's read down. So you gotta understand that, you know, a good movie to watch, man, even the whole thing between the zealots and the higher ups was something that Paul had to address. Because a good movie to watch is the new not Spartacus, Ben-Hur. They put a lot of social issues in that movie, which was very accurate for the time. Because you had the higher ups like the Pharisees and them guys, they were cool with Rome, because in that setup, they were kind of aight. Because you had Jews that were doing good. They were businessmen, they were merchants, and they were making money. So they didn't want to rock the boat, because they knew that Rome weren't playing. So you had, on one hand, you had guys that were basically like, look, we ain't fucking with Rome. Let's just do what Rome say and we'll live our life, right? But then you had people, the zealots, whose mothers got murdered by the Romans, fathers got murdered by the Romans. They just wanted blood. So there was a beef, because the zealots looked to them other guys as traitors. But guess what? When YAHAWASHI came, he brought in guys from all different parts of that spectrum. And the zealots had to learn what? You can't be carnal. You gotta chill and do it YAHAWASHI's way. And that's why even the zealots had to be addressed. But them zealots really just wanted to move on Rome. Watch the movie, the new Ben-Hur, they show you that. And the guy shanked up the Roman thing, and the guy was like, what the fuck are you doing? The Romans are only gonna come and kill more of you, which he was right. They were trying to take down the Romans by killing a few Romans here and there, but then the Romans would just send in a legion and kill thousands, you know? That's why the Paul had to tell them guys in Romans 13, yo, chill. He was addressing them zealots, man. So you come up, yeah?
Were they like the Sakari?
Like the Sakari, yeah. They were going off. And they were just getting people killed. All that stuff, at the end of the day, there was another account with the guy that led the you getting that?
Looking it up now. Is that Acts?
Yeah, you see if you can get, it's in the book of Acts. Let's read that account. He was a zealot. Now a lot of the zealots ended up following YAHAWASHI, but they had to leave off that zealot nature, because YAHAWASHI said, I send you out as sheep among wolves. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But the zealots weren't on that, man. Them zealots were on some. They wanted blood there and then. They had to chill.
Yes, Acts 5, one second. This is Acts chapter 5.
Yeah, read it.
I can't. Acts chapter 5 and verse.
See, that's why you gotta know all that. So if you don't understand all these social issues, hey, in the Lord's time, they were just crazy social issues, man. And that's why shit was popping, man. Because you had the Pharisees, you had the Sadducees, you had the Zealots, you had the Romans, you had the Hellenes. Hey, there was all kind of things that Jake had to deal with. Isms and schisms, man.
This is Acts chapter 5, verse.
I'm watching my muscle.
Acts chapter 5, verse 36. For before those days rose up Theodos, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves.
These are zealots, man. They were tired. A lot of them, like I said, the Romans probably came in, did a slaughter, and it's understandable. You want blood. You might be an orphan because the Romans killed your parents. But hey, that's why the Lord said, Sweden, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. Who the fuck is Sweden?
Yeah, Sweden ain't got no firepower. But anyway, when they go up against France, then we're gonna see. Yeah. But you know what? I tell you this, yeah. I don't want no one to win, because Jacob winning these matches for these damn racist devils, man.
That's right.
But them devils in France don't like them Negroes, man. Pogba and all that. But when Pogba score, it's good. But they don't like them Jakes, man.
The game that they played the other day, every one of them was from the West Coast.
Bro!
Apart one who was from Algeria.
France has always been like that. They're all Moroccans and North West Africans, man, in the team.
This time, they didn't even beat around the bush. They had like black keeper, black defenders, black midfield, and one white.
Yeah, and then when they win, they gonna celebrate. But then they still don't. They treat them dudes like shit. That's why I don't want England to win. I don't want France to win. Yeah, you know.
Russia's still there, innit?
But I know somebody gonna win. But I didn't want Brazil to win. Them motherfuckers didn't stand up to the favela, man. All them motherfuckers is from the favela. When they had the World Cup in Brazil, they were fucking with the favelas, man. They were moving people out of their houses and all kinds of ill shit was going on, man. Now, them guys, they make their money in Europe already. They're already making money playing for Real Madrid. If they were real men, they would have said, you know what, man? We're boycotting. You doing that to our people in the favela? Fuck you. I'm staying at home this summer. I'm gonna get my sports massages and my dick sucked. What now? I don't need to play for Brazil. We're standing up for the favela. What did they do? They said fuck the favela, and they did it. And that nigga Neymar was doing adverts standing up for gay rights. So here it is. He couldn't stand up for the favela, but he gonna stand up for gay rights. So I didn't want Brazil to win either, man. Fuck them dudes. Them dudes forget where they came from. Bunch of demons, man. Anyway, man, that's just my thing. That's my person. You can back Brazil if you want. Ole, you know. But I didn't like that, man. You gotta stand up for the. You were already making money, man. I would have been like, fuck y'all, man. You can't do that to the people and the poor people, man. That was wicked, man. Go on.
So there's Acts 5:36. But before these days rose up theaters, boasting themselves to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined
one of them black revolutionaries.
Joined themselves, who was slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. After this man rose up Judas of Galilee in those days of the taxing, and drew away many people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed.
Yeah, that's them zealots, man. But you had zealots that came into the fold, but they had to change from that way. They had to become spiritual. So there was all kinds of things, social issues, that is actually addressed in the scriptures, and unless you really know what was going on back then, it ain't gonna make sense. But when you start reading about the social issues that was in Judea at the time, and you're like, oh yeah, no wonder they had to address that. No wonder Paul had to write Romans 13 and all that. Because you had zealots that were in Rome, looking to take guys out in Rome, like, hey, looking to take out Romans in Rome, man. Hey, man, Jake, you know Jake, man. Jake get serious, man. Anyway, let's jump back to John 11. Hey, salvation is only for Israelites, man.
That's right.
Right? Point blank period. And nobody else is teaching it. We're the only ones that's teaching it. Because we got the truth. Salvation ain't for everyone, man. Yeah, start from 47.
John 11 and 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and our nation.
Yeah, so these Pharisees, they were very afraid of Rome. They were deadly afraid of Rome, but they weren't spiritual. They look, man, that was the Messiah, that was the Savior right there. But they were just thinking, nah, man, if these people get roused up and Rome come down with them legions, which eventually Rome did come down with them legions, man. Hey, it's good to speak about them iron legs, man. Hey, eventually Rome did come down and trample them under the foot. Go on. And that was the end of that chapter.
Yes, sugar.
He's waxing left.
Before he was all suited up in it.
And one of them named Caiaphas, being a high priest the same year, said unto them, Ye knowing nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not.
Right, because he knew that according to the scripture, there would be a deliverer, a savior, who would become a sacrifice, man. And he would save a remnant. See, they knew in the scriptures that the Bible says a remnant was going to be saved. Now, but the question was, who was that remnant? They thought they was it. Nah, the remnant was going to be the followers of the Messiah. And they were going to come from all different walks of life, from all across the world. And guys got bugged out. They couldn't get that. That's why you had guys like, hold on, I've been circumcised the 8th day. I've been here doing this thing, and you telling me I can't be delivered, but this guy been eating pork his whole life, and he gonna make it just because he believes in no, man. That's why these fans didn't want to hear that. Yeah. But hey, what can you do? The Lord is no respecter of persons. I don't give a fuck how many fringes you have. You don't believe in the Son. If you don't believe in YAHAWASHI, the Lord don't care how many fringes you got. You can have fringes from neon lights on there, man. Yeah, you might have them magnetic, them ultra-magnetic fringes, man. You humming and shit. Go, man.
Go, quick one. Ephesians 2:8. For by grace are you saved. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of the Most High, not of works, lest any man should boast.
It's not about works, man. So you ain't got to be a tailor-made Israelite to make it, man. You just have to believe in YAHAWASHI, man. Like we all, because we weren't tailor-made Israelites, man. We were Israelites, but we weren't tailor-made. We were growing up all kinds of heathen. You know, heathen with a capital H. You know what I'm saying? Through eating lobster and all kind of conchs, all kind of abomination. Oh God! Oh God! Yeah.
Slivery things.
Yeah, sea slugs.
It's a delicacy. Oh, you're still alive, sliding over the plate.
Go on, bro.
Alright, so this is continuing on in John verse 11, chapter 11, Salakio, verse 49. And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye knowing nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being the high priest that year, he prophesied that YAHAWASHI should die for that nation.
And the nation he was talking about there was the Jews, the Judeans. Go on, read on.
And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one.
Gather together in one.
The children of God that were scattered abroad.
Who were the children of God that were scattered abroad? The Israelites. And that included the ones that were all up in Asia Minor as Greeks. Because they were scattered abroad as well. Were they not children of God? We read it. They were Jews, and they fled among the heathen for succor. So they were children of God that were Hellenized. That's who the Lord's gonna gather up into one. The Israelites, man. Not no heathens, man. The heathens, they're not part of this. It's not in the prophecies, man. All right, is there any more scriptures we close up on this? Is that it? You got anything else? All right, we close up on that, man. So yeah, get into that history, man. That's the apostles. Hey, the apostles taught us that from day one. God, you can buy them LaRousse history encyclopedia of the world, man, and you can learn a lot from them. Now, obviously, you gotta filter it, you gotta filter it through the spirit. But it's good to have a good general knowledge of history and of timelines, man. It helps if you're understanding of the scriptures. And we're Israelites anyway. We're supposed to be learned. We're supposed to be the most learned people on the planet Earth. We're princes, man. We already brought out earlier how a prince was raised in the king's house. Yeah, tutors, he had to be smart, man. He's supposed to be no dummy.
What was that film, man? The Last Emperor?
Yeah.
The Last Emperor, the Chinese emperor. So like the way he got raised up, man. From young, he was expected to be a ruler, man.
That's right. To be a ruler ain't just about the dick banging, man. Hey, big man. You gotta have it up here.
Yeah, sorry about that, yeah man. When I do my suits, I look like me. I say Yahshua.
You know who he looks like?
Yahshua.
Gully butt. Hey yo, I'm gully butt that, you know. Anyway, with that, we say Shalawam.
That's what happened off the
Shalawam.
Hey, you know gully butt.